Welcome, folks, to the Robbie Rowe Show. I'm your host, Robbie Rowland, and you are listening to The Bearded and the Brain with Dr. Josh Heenan. Now let's hear a soundbite from the doc himself.
How you move in the gym is going to start to dictate how you move on the field. Mm-hmm. And you have an opportunity every time you walk into the gym to become more or less efficient.
May I have your attention, please?
Give me a heater.
Now listening to Clear the Mechanism.
The Robbie Rowe Show.
The Robbie Rowe Show.
Yo, what it is, guys? It's your boy Robbie Rowe, the host of the Robbie Rowe Show. You're listening to the segment Bearded and the Brains with my guy, Dr. Josh Heenan. So I think a lot of you guys saw maybe on Twitter, maybe on MLB Network, maybe on YouTube, maybe on MySpace, who knows. But there was a MLB Network conversation that was led by John Smoltz, who was kind of talking about this new school way of training and how he didn't really agree with it. I don't want to really put any words in his mouth. This is just my personal interpretation of what he said when it comes to the way that the new school, if you will, players train today. I think one quote that he used was throwing a ball through a wall. So I also want to say that he used the word CrossFit or battle ropes when in regards to the type of training that he's seeing us do. But anyways, I think it sparked pretty popular conversation / debate on social media platforms. And I know I chimed in a little bit on mine. Made a post about it, and I know Josh made a post about it. And what better use of time than to talk about it and to kind of give both of our personal opinions on the conversation that was had. Obviously, we're not taking anything away from John Smoltz. I mean, shoot, man, like, guy's a legend. Not saying he's not. I'm not even saying he's wrong. I don't think Josh is saying he's wrong. We just want to give our personal opinion on it and go from there. But anyways, guys, I know I plugged this a lot, but if you are interested in a mechanical video analysis from myself, you can check out the link in the show notes. My website's therobbierowshow.com, or if you want to just go to my Instagram bio, click the link, and it'll take you to a page, and you'll scroll down and you'll see mechanical video analysis on there. Click it. And what I can do for you being a podcast listener or an Instagram follower is I can get you 20% discount. You just got to message me. So find a way to message me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and let me know that you're interested in that discount code, and we can get to work. I do think it's a high importance, man. I'm not just saying that because it allows me to earn a little bit of money. Honestly, I think there's a lot of mechanical breakdowns that I'm seeing with kids. Especially the kids that DM me on Instagram and say, "Yo, I do this and I do that. I do this really well." And even the ones that are the guys that follow Josh's program and say, "Hey, I hit the 90-mile-an-hour formula, which entails a 300-foot long toss. Why am I still throwing 85? Well, we have mechanical deficiencies that we need to hammer home. So that's where I put a high importance in one of my mechanical video analysis, man, is just determining where your deficiencies are and how we can truly optimize those. So appreciate each and every one of you guys for listening. Hope you enjoy this episode of Bearded and the Brains with Dr. Josh Heenan. Let's get to it, guys. All right, we are live. Bearded and the Brains. I don't know what episode, so we won't say the episode. But we just got done doing a workout here in Omaha, Nebraska.
At CrossFit Vice.
Is that what it's called? Because I looked for the tag on Instagram.
It's here.
The CrossFit Vice?
Yeah, there's 2 locations. There's one in Council Bluffs, which is over the line.
That's in Iowa. Yeah, I went to the movies there.
And then we are in Omaha.
Okay, that's good information. All right, man. So I think what we decided to talk about today is the argument that, I guess to word it properly, is like kind of the conversation or the topic of what recently came out on MLB Network with the whole John Smoltz and the old school, new school training mentality, and basically the way I look at it is like that generation as far as the excess running and the things they did to quote unquote train, and now the things that we're doing, quoting John Smoltz, throwing through a wall. And I know you had some opinions about it, so I wanted to get you on the show and kind of allow you an opportunity to further elaborate on where you stand.
Well, I'd be interested first to get your take on where you stand, because I know we've talked a little bit about it, but also as a player and someone that seems to be, pretty well informed with training and experimenting with stuff over, an 9-year professional career.
9 years.
9 year.
Going into 10.
All right. So what are your initial thoughts on
I think it's interesting, right? Because I can relate to both sides, where I think when I was in high school, that was literally my training. My dad played in that era where all that stuff was like very relevant, like the long distance running and like not a lot of weightlifting. And I remember specifically kind of having a negative connotation over weightlifting. And it was more so like I was a long distance guy, and that actually suited me fairly well. I mean, I was 88th overall in the draft, like I was doing something right. So,
or were you?
Exactly, right? Like we'll never know. But at the same time, I also know how I feel today, besides like the injury, obviously, but knowing how my body feels and what I'm doing as far as training purposes go. And so I can like see it from both sides. But I made a post about it this morning as far as my take on it is, I think no matter where you stand, whatever product like of an environment that you were pretty much molded by, I think you're going to stand by regardless.
Of course.
And I think I disagree with the individuals who say like John Smoltz, what he said was wrong, because he's not, like, whatever worked for him to become a 21 years, right? Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't just come out and say like, oh, he's wrong. But we also can have that conversation where it says like,
I think I follow you, and I think it comes down more so to not what's right and what's wrong, but what's optimal and what's not. And we're looking to build optimal athletes. We're looking to build efficient athletes. When he goes out and basically, from my take, is that he took a lot of the heavier strength training, and it almost seemed like he was kind of pointing a finger at like more of the CrossFit style, what we would consider a CrossFit
he
style.
mentioned CrossFit.
Did he actually? I forget, but I know he talked about like battle ropes and things like that. Like it's about being optimal and about moving with efficiency. And I know I always end up going back to the formula, but like that's why the formula is there. It's not about moving weight per se. I mean, yes, do we want you to be able to move weight? Of course. But I would rather take someone that learns to move more efficiently in the patterns they're going to use. And that's all weighted balls are as well. The argument against weighted balls is that you are loading something that your body can't handle, which is garbage, because people throw a football and a softball without any issues regularly. And then to say that throwing a baseball is bad, that has a little bit more load or a little less load. It's all about application of it. And if you're moving efficiently, your body should be able to withstand those things. People are designed to move through the ranges of motions that our bones and joints and ligaments are structured, and then our muscles are going to pull. So by utilizing full ranges of motion and then getting stronger, that's good training. It also goes back to like, what is causal? Did Nolan Ryan, who was like the first pitcher to really be well known for weight training?
So that's an interesting topic. Like I don't know his regimen, Nolan Ryan, but was he? Do you know for a fact like he was a weightlifter?
At least
guy?
Based on the books that I've read, because it was one of the first books I ever read about training.
Right.
When I was like 13 or 14, was based on his routines.
Yeah, that always interests me.
Long distance running. So he would do his his post 2 to 5 mile run.
Yeah.
Throwing, and then he would use a lot of machines. He would do like dumbbell bench, rows, things like that. But what it seemed like, based on my understanding, was that it looked like he had structural balance, which is, to me, is really important. Where you get people that are not strong enough, they're too strong in their pecs, they're too strong in their like anterior front muscles, and they're not strong enough in their decelerating back muscles. That's where we get a lot of issues.
Which is interesting, because it's usually the opposite.
Right.
Right. Your back would be stronger than your.
Well, not for most weight training individuals. They're going to be more chest and quad.
I was
dominant.
talking pitching.
But pitching, we want them to be stronger in their back because it helps them decelerate. So, did he become a 21-year Hall of Famer? because he did those things, or were those things actually things that held him back? Could he have been, could he have thrown harder? Could he have had a longer career? Could he have not had the substantial surgeries he had throughout? That's the question. It's hard to speculate. It's unfair to It's kind of unfair to speculate on that.
Dude, because you talk about optimal a lot, but everyone's optimal looks different, right?
Very different.
And to achieve that type of optimization per the individual,
right,
it would be whatever their routine would be, right?
Correct. How hard did Smoltz throw? I don't remember.
So when he was coming in closing early in his career, he'd get it up to 98.
Okay.
Starter, like he said, he was like cruise at 92, 94.
Right.
But he could rear back for 97.
Right.
Like, he was a hard thrower, dude.
I do remember him throwing hard. I just didn't remember how hard.
But a lot of people obviously remember later in his career,
right,
and
he'd spot up and make a living there.
Same with Maddox. The same story. Like, everyone remembers the mid-upper 80s, but like when he came up, dude, he was 95.
Right. But I think it's also a different era, and you know what? You're not gonna impress people by going out, and your career is going to be shortened exponentially now when you have someone else chomping at your feet that's trying to take your spot in rookie ball that's touching 97, and it's a different game. And I think the frustrating thing to me, being in the sports performance, sports medicine, sports therapy world, is that you get one snippet like that, and son and dad are watching this, and they're like, "Oh, we got to continue to do that stuff."
Yeah.
Where it's like that's all misinformation.
Well,
and if you want to talk to anybody that understands movement and physiology and what happens to your body as you age, and actually like orthopedic conditions and things like that, they're gonna disagree with that because it's factually incorrect.
Well, it's funny too, because I made that post this morning, and like I just checked in the comments, and like there was a lot of people that say, the innocent bystander that'll go, I want the guy that can spot up at 90 and knows where it's going and is controlled and all this stuff. But in reality, that's not the way the game is anymore.
No.
So it's like, as much as we say like, yeah, I'd rather have this guy, MLB organizations, the ones that are making the decisions for who gets a jersey and who doesn't, don't really care about those type of guys. They don't get really looked at twice. Like their window of error is like so much less than the guys that are 95. I mean, shoot, man, even 95 today is like, there's free agents out there, dude. Like, you turn on a
free agents.
You saw that the video? I forget the kid's name, but free agent throwing 98 in a bullpen.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I mean, as much as we want the game to be a certain way, it's not anymore. Right. And I think, again, it goes back to, for me personally, product of environment. What is the environment of today's baseball culture? Right. It's adapt or die, right, in terms of throwing hard. So I think that puts us as players in that position of like, all right, we got to get on board.
Well, I talked to, in like the economics world and business world, we often cite that like people vote every single day with their dollars. If you say like you want Coca-Cola to go down as a company because you're like, oh, sugar's bad and I don't, it's linked to cancer and all these things, then don't go out and buy Coca-Cola, because they'll go out of business and you're not going to have Coca-Cola around anymore. Yet enough people are voting with their dollars every day to keep them in business. Yeah. Organizations are voting with their dollars every single day when they're going to take a risk of a guy who's had 3 elbow surgeries but can crank it up to 100.
And that's a high dollar.
It's not cheap. Yeah. It's an easier way to, that's how they're jumping into it and saying that, we're going to invest and we're going to risk our money with someone that may or may not be able to ever be healthy for us, but they have 100 in them, so we're going to give them a chance. Well, it's a different world.
And you talk about the amount of guys that are doing it. So, I mean, shoot, man, like, are organizations even concerned if their window is 5 or 6 years? Because in 5 or 6 years, there's probably going to be another guy throwing 100. Yep. So it's like, it's funny, dude. I know this is a little off topic, but I posted that thing on the average salary per position.
Yes.
And it was like, that was kind of the same thing where the catchers were paid very little, and they're probably like their demand is the most on the field in a game. Yeah. But you look at the demand for a catcher, it's dime a dozen, man.
Absolutely.
You just funnel in and out.
Yeah, you can be a good defensive catcher and fight your way to get on base and have a chance.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the same thing with pitching. Obviously, I think the pitchers especially the starters get paid a lot because the consistent starters are in high demand. But then you look at like the relievers, besides the closers that are constantly in the top of the league in saves, but dime a dozen, man. Yeah. Especially in today's culture. So it goes back to, are we doing something? I mean, the writing's on the wall. We're clearly doing something differently than those guys back then did because of. Do you think it's more so of the importance of strength training, or is it because our mindset is probably completely different from now compared to John Smoltz saying, "I want 20 years"?
It's a combo. I mean, you're gonna get. We know what's gonna cash the checks. We know what's gonna turn the heads in terms of velocity, and we know that that's the goal. And you know, for us, we have athletes that come in and mommy and daddy are like, we want him to start doing a weighted ball program. And we're like, well, kid's got elbow pain and he's got shoulder issues and he's weak and he can't do a push-up. We don't want to start doing that stuff yet. Let's get him stronger. And they'll go somewhere else, which is fine. That's not our target audience. We want people that want to have a long-term athletic career and not have debilitating surgeries and injuries along the way when possible. So it just depends on, you know, it's gonna shake out, and what's gonna be really interesting is when there are organizations that really get it. I have colleagues all throughout minor and major league baseball.
Get what?
Get training. Excuse me. Get understand really the value of training.
Right.
And you know, I have one that is now running an organization's minor league development program. And I was speaking with him the other day, and I asked him like, what changes are you gonna make? And he's like, we're going to refine our movement. He's like, we're going to refine how we squat, we're going to refine how we lunge, and we're going to refine how we do push-ups and chin-ups. He's like, when we tinker with those things, that is going to give us, from the minor leagues all the way to the big leagues, that's going to make the long-term changes that are going to help our athletes the longest way. He's like, we all get, like, anybody that understands strength and conditioning really fundamentally, and isn't just there for a soundbite on MLB Network, is going to agree with the fact that like movement is going to dictate how you move in the gym, is going to start to dictate how you move on the field. Mm-hmm. And you have an opportunity every time you walk into the gym to become more or less efficient. And that organization, if they're able to revamp how they move from rookie ball all the way up to the big leagues and making sure that everybody's moving to their most efficient capacity for that person, that's how you're going to make change. It's not going to be the guy that reverse lunges 800 pounds. That's not going to change much. The guy that can reverse lunge, 1.5 times his body weight and do it with impeccable form and control and durability, those are the guys that are going to be a win.
Yeah. So I know it might be an unfair question, but like, do you think that's where organizations go wrong, as far as like the less focus on optimal movement and more focus on just getting under the load?
Depends. It depends on the organization. It's very, very. There's a lot of organization. Every organization has either pros and cons, in my opinion. As does even private organizations like ours.
Yeah.
It just depends, but I think in general, in the sports performance world as a whole, not just talking professional baseball, talking like all sports performance, a lack of understanding of actually how people move and what goes into good movement is misunderstood. Yeah. So when that gets honed in on and good movement is honed in on, it's really easy to fix someone's tunneling if they can reverse lunge their body weight for reps and reps and reps and reps, because they're strong enough to hold that position. But if you're going to work on their tunneling in their hand position on their slider, and they can't reverse lunge their body weight without falling over, good luck. Because I'm gonna be able to take a guy that has poor tunneling and can't control a fastball, and get him to reverse lunge quicker, and get him to tunnel quicker than you can if you just hammer away the arm mechanics. Because the arm mechanics aren't the problem; they're not the root of the problem; they're the symptom.
We always talk about like pieces of the puzzle. And I think that's an underlying issue.
Exactly.
Thanks for your time, dude. Appreciate you.
Great to have you.
All right, guys. That's another episode of Beard in the Brains with Dr. Josh Heenan and Robbie Rowland. Hey, that's me. Anyways, appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode, giving it a listen. Hoping you like it. If you liked it, give me a review. Let me know. Helps me as a podcaster understanding, what I not only what I do well, but what do I not do well, right? I'm kind of free-balling this thing, if you would. And I love feedback from you guys, whether it be on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Always appreciate any feedback in which I can get better at what I'm doing and provide you guys with quality content. With that being said, if there's ever anything that you want Josh and I specifically to talk about, go ahead and message me. I know his inbox is probably a little bit more full than mine. So shoot me a DM on Instagram, RobbieRowe12, that's Robbie with a Y, and let me know what you guys want to hear. And with that being said, you guys have a great rest of your day, and we shall talk to you next time. Later!